Your time now is 1 minute past 2, and welcome to the Monday edition of Market View. My name is Notsile Sitole, and as always, we're giving you front seat access to news shaping the business climate today. On the program, we'll focus on a sector that feeds the nation and drives economic growth, that is agriculture. On the 13th to the 14th of August, the Ministry of Agriculture will host the Eswatini National Agriculture and Business Investment Forum to rally financiers to mobilize resources and position the sector as a cornerstone of national development. Beyond the speeches and themes, how will these investments reach the farmers who need them the most? How will they transform agriculture into a resilient, sustainable and profitable industry for Eswatini? Stay tuned as we chat with the Minister of Agriculture on the plans, promises and the path ahead. For now, we'll have a break, and when we come back, our business news. In our business news this afternoon, the recent National Human Resource Development Policy launched last Friday reveals that over 67% of graduates still lack practical industry-related skills and soft skills after graduation, while 50% of graduates remain unemployed. Time and again, different industries have held panel discussions to explore solutions, and one thing is clear: digital skills and artificial intelligence competencies are now essential. Industry leaders continue to share their views on various platforms, highlighting the urgent need for education systems to align with the demands of a rapidly evolving job market.
During the World Bank Economic Update report, Dr. Evans emphasized that collaboration is key to creating sustainable employment opportunities. He highlighted the importance of partnerships between government, private sector, and educational institutions to bridge the gap between skills development and labor market demands.
We can achieve partnerships in three ways. The first one is we need industry, the private sector, to fund research. Our level of investment in research and development is below 2%. How do you expect the economy to grow? So we need the private sector to catch up, to come to the table and fund research and development. It could be done at universities or within their companies, but we need investment in that direction. There is evidence, of course, that R&D, that's research and development, leads directly to productivity that increases and also leads to innovation, and that is missing. The second one is where we come in, I think, as institutions. How do you ensure that you produce a graduate who is employable? So you want to be able to go to the industry and not talk to them as stakeholders, but talk to them as partners who can come into the classroom to teach. We can also send our students for work-related learning.
Meanwhile, during the launch of the Chevening Alumni Eswatini Association at the British High Commission, several speakers echoed similar sentiments. They shed light on the urgent need for innovative, inclusive approaches to address the high unemployment rate.
We need to talk about TVET, how we look and view TVET. TVET is a part of digital transformation. If you look at your countries like Morocco, we really need to invest in that. And also agility. We need to be agile, particularly when it comes to the curriculum design. We cannot afford to have a year of trying to redesign a curriculum. So we need to, as government, be agile to the change. It's a moving train, and what we're trying to mitigate now will be far worse if we don't hop onto this moving train.
We're looking for people who understand the psychology of the human mind, because we want to use data science to map that to someone that understands how to then create a service that will appeal to that particular person's appetite for their own future. So this is different from going into an accounting space and doing accounting or doing law, because those are traditional skills. Digital transformation is going to take over all those skills. Computers are going to do that work. We human beings have created them so they can do that work for us. So, and I feel pity for the young people, because it means there's going to be less work available for them if they continue to study the way that we were brought up. So it does require transformational change in the way that we create education platforms and we teach education and we align those people to what the organizations need out there. I tell my staff all the time, in 5 years, there will not be a job of a teller in the bank. If you're aspiring to be a teller, it will not exist.
The National Human Resource Development Policy states that with a rising youthful population and a greater percentage of youth below the age of 24, there is an intensifying demand to expand access to good quality education and ICT infrastructure. The report states that the education system is faced with several challenges, including lack of capacity of lecturers, relevance of curricula to industry skills needs, infrastructure, which results in low capacity to churn out youth that can easily integrate into the labor market. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
In a move set to brighten the days of all public service pensions fund pensioners, the Minister of Public Service, Honorable Mabulala Masego, has approved a 4.2% cost of living adjustment pension increase following consultations with the Board of Trustees.
The chairperson of the board, Semi Dlamini, shares more on the pensioners' cost of living adjustment.
The cost of living adjustment COLA for pension annuities has been finalized. Therefore, the Public Service Pension Fund is pleased to inform all its pensioners that the Minister of Public Service, Honorable Mabulala Masego, in consultation with the Board of Directors, has approved a pension increase of 4.2% for all PSPF pensioners with effect from 1st April 2025. The COLA will be effected in the August 2025 payroll run.
Elliot Mkachwa, Public Service Pensioners Association's chairperson, has welcomed the cost of living adjustment. He says they hope that one day the amount they are getting every month will increase, as this would make their life easier, further highlighting that this is a good move by the fund.
Siyamemukela lo 4.2%. Ngakuthi vele ukugijima ku cost of living eveni. Ngakho ke sithi siyamthatha njengoba basiniketa. Kude lesingathi sita ubhekisa lena le because sikona vele kucondzene nalesimo sempilo lesikhona nyalo. Sine lesi kugadza ukuthi kuyawusisita ngcono kudani lo COLA. Ngangilapha kuyahamba kufika isikhathi sekuthi ku-reviewwe kona lesi kutholako ukuthi kusenawo nemandla.
Last year, the pensioners received 5% increase in their monthly annuities. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
The business news I had for now. We'll go for an ad break. When I come back, we're in conversation with the Minister of Agriculture. Stay tuned.
This is Subsidy, the game show where we talk about government-sponsored financial incentives. Our first question: which of these sectors benefits from government subsidies? Agriculture, education, transportation, or all of the above?
Oh, that's easy.
The answer is all of the above.
He's right, but there's more to the story. Sometimes governments support their people and businesses through a policy tool that brings down prices called subsidies. They do this to create long-term benefits for the economy or to help pay for things that the market isn't providing but that people cannot live without. Subsidies can also be a helpful tool when an economy is hit by crisis. Let me show you what I mean. Take housing. Everyone needs a roof over their head. Unfortunately, not everyone can afford it. But governments can help by subsidizing rent for poorer citizens or building more low-cost homes. Education subsidies, like discounted tuition or free textbooks, can make schooling affordable for more people. As a result, people are more skilled and can get better jobs. Even something as small as bringing down the cost of public transportation yields benefits for the environment. Not to mention, it gives people more options about where they can live and work. But not all subsidies are helpful. Some have downsides. Oh, this is me.
Doors open.
Take a look at one of the most common subsidies. Energy. In a lot of countries, fuel subsidies can mean consumers are paying less for fuel than it actually costs to produce. And that doesn't even reflect the environmental cost. Look at coal. Burning coal produces electricity, but it also pumps carbon into the air, which causes pollution and contributes to climate change. If the price tag on coal doesn't include these environmental costs, companies will always choose cheap, subsidized coal over more expensive clean energy sources. On the flip side, when governments subsidize green energy sources, they make the clean choice the more affordable option. At the IMF, we support these types of reforms that get energy prices right and tax pollution, especially when the added revenue goes towards programs that can help the poor. Basically, making sure that subsidies do what's best for people, the economy, and Mother Earth.
Welcome back. And in our Enterprise Watch segment, the Ministry of Agriculture is set to host the Eswatini National Agriculture and Business Investment Forum this Wednesday and Thursday at the Happy Valley Hotel in Eswatini. Agriculture remains a cornerstone of Eswatini's economy, not only as a key source of livelihoods and employment for rural communities, but also as a critical driver of food security, economic growth, and sustainable development. With climate change rising, food costs, and global supply chain challenges, investing in agriculture is more important than ever. Joining us now to share more on the objectives and significance of this investment forum is the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, Honourable Mandla Chawuka, who also joins us with Nonhlanhla Mdlovu, who is the Senior Planning Officer at the Ministry. A very good afternoon to you both, and thank you so much for coming to the studio today. Minister, I'd like to start with you. As a country, we have ambitious plans, to develop our agricultural sector. How does this forum, how does it direct to practical, measurable outcomes that farmers and agribusinesses will see on the ground, beyond the talk, beyond the speeches? Let's get to the results that will be evident on the ground.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Firstly, I'd like to put the record straight. It's not a national investment conference or national investment in DAB. It is an international investment in DAB.
Okay.
The reason for that is because we've already had a national one last year on the 18th of September. And then subsequent to that, we then had the opportunity to go to Rome and made a presentation to the international world in an FAO meeting. And from that presentation, there was an expression of interest from a number of people who wanted to come to the country and see what the investment climate and investment opportunities are in this country. We also accompanied His Majesty, who was also on the same mission of trying to get investment into the kingdom, to Serbia. And there was a similar reaction again to that. Even in Italy, His Majesty was one of the guest speakers, and out of his presentation, people wanted to come to the country and see what can be done. So it is an international investment forum.
Right.
So we are going to have people from as far off as Austria, Rome, Serbia, and everywhere else in the world.
Right.
Coming back to your question, What we're looking for from this forum is, we are correct, tangible results. Tangible results will be measured by the actual investments that are going to be made after the discussions that we're going to have.
Okay.
And these investments will then go to a lot of the sectors within the agricultural space, agro-processing, production, logistics, and everything else that people can take interest in terms of investment. And that investment then should flow down to the average Eswatini at home, who will then be able to do business, either as a contractor or whatever. But we all must then see the money flowing to Eswatini in terms of businesses and agro-businesses and other related areas. From last year's national one, we did get, for instance, a contribution from one of the investors of chicks to Eswatini farmers, and we have distributed those chicks, and young people are now farming chickens from that investment pledge. There are other investments which have also gone through. So that is what we want to measure the process by.
Right. I like how the theme speaks to the youth as well. I'm going to ask this one to Nonhlanhla. The sector locally, it faces a number of challenges. That is climate change, that is limited access to financing and sometimes access to land for especially our young farmers. How do you think this investment platform will address some of these barriers?
We are thinking that, as the Minister has said, that we are thinking that the young people has to come to the investment forum and then put and contribute their put forward their challenges that they are facing, so that the investors that will come and partner with those young people to be able to move forward with agriculture and producing food sovereignty in the country.
Minister, you're an advocate for inclusive growth. You're an advocate for food sovereignty, which is a word you often use. Now, we have smallholder farmers that produce a large number of Eswatini's food, and yet often when it comes to these high value chains, they're left out. Now, how do you think we can bridge the gaps so that whoever is willing to invest after this forum, it doesn't just only benefit the big guns, the ones that are already in commercial farming, a commercial landscape, but what about the young farmers, the smallholder farmers?
Firstly, we have to acknowledge as a country that about 72% of our agricultural activity is in the rural areas and by design in the hands of smallholder farmers. And then because of that, what we have within the ministry, within our strategy, is a pillar which we call farming with communities. What this means is that even if you get a big investor and that investor wants to do, maybe produce cassava as an example, he's not going to be the only player in that area. What we then want is that operation should be integrated with some of the smallholder farmers around the community. I know, for instance, I don't want to count particular communities, but there are communities where we are already starting projects, and we then want to involve the communities because we want to farm with those communities. It can't work to have a big investment and only the big player is benefiting and the people are watching. So they must participate in this investment. The other big thing about smallholder development is that we use the model of an anchor product. I always refer to my sugar experience. In sugar cane, you have a big company which is farming sugar cane, but we have a lot of other small growers around, and the company might own the sugar mill, but the outgrowers then supply to that sugar mill. So it takes away the burden of marketing from the smallholder. He knows that whatever he produces will go to that factory and be processed. Right. We're doing the same thing within the other commodities in the country. We want to promote agro-processing. For instance, we want to produce tomato sauce from our potatoes. What that will do will then allow the smallholder farmer to have a designated market at a fixed price. So he knows that he produces tomatoes, they go to that agro-processing plant, it makes tomato sauce. So he says, so they'll participate in that. So when we talk to the investors on Wednesday, that's the model we're selling. We are saying you are not going to come here and just produce and make money for yourself. You must also allow the community to participate, either by you setting up a processing plant and they supply you, or if you have a certain thing that you, a certain input that you need, you do what is called backward integration. You put money into the farms of Eswatini so that they are able to produce that and supply that input for you.
Right.
Coming to youth, one of the big issues in this country is youth unemployment. So what we are doing, and youth unemployment is a problem. But the beauty about agriculture is that it's got the highest multiplier effect. For every lilangeni you put into agriculture, you stimulate downstream industries. We have supply chain management, we've got logistics, you've got drones, technology and everything, and the youth generally don't want to play in the space of production and working in the fields, but they want to play in the space of technology in terms of drones, shade nets and all that. They want to play in the space of technology supporting agricultural activity.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much. I'm told that's all the time we had.
Oh.
That was the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Mandla Chauka, and Nonhlanhla Ndlovu, who is the Senior Planning Officer at the Ministry, just telling us about the upcoming agriculture sector investment forum. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll go for a break. After that, we'll have Sanele Sibia for our market analysis segment.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. In this brief segment of the show, which is actually the last segment of the show, economist Sanele Sibia joins us via video link. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Sibia. It's been an eventful week for the JSE, from U.S. tariffs to swings in stock movement. We saw the index also at a high on Friday. What are your observations this Monday?
Thank you, Notsilene. Good afternoon to the viewer. So what we're seeing is the optimism of last week still continuing to hold in the US. And we can see that Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, they're all on those record highs. That's because we're waiting for jobs data to come through this week, and that artificial intelligence trade seems to be moving markets compared to that tariff worry. So what we're seeing is markets becoming relatively sanguine to those tariff threats, purely because right now it's become something more concrete. And then in Europe, we're seeing a bit of divergence with Germany and France, showing a bit of losses, but London still holding up above that 9,000 mark. That's because we're seeing those, those talks between Washington and Russia there, and the fact that the Europeans seem to be left out of that picture. So we're seeing a bit of those worries coming into play, and bringing into question again the strength of the relationship between the Europeans and the US. And then when you go into the Asian markets, the mood remains relatively stable there, regardless of the fact that tomorrow we're moving into the end of that 90-day pause between the tariff trade war between the US and China. But we're seeing those stimulus packages actually pushing the Shanghai Composite to an all-time high of 3,600, something we've not seen before historically. And the JSE continues to suffer there, but still remaining above that 100,000 mark, continuing to suffer because there's a bit of downward pressure on the price of gold, and that tends to be putting a bit of pressure on the JSE. But what we're seeing with the commodities is gold is losing a bit of its ground, largely because there is a bit of uncertainty in terms of whether gold gets those tariffs, gets tariffed when it gets sold into the US or not. But Brent crude remains relatively stable at 66, which is a relative level we expected to go down to around 65, but it's all contingent on the data that's going to come out on the US tomorrow in terms of the jobs data, and giving us strength and signs on the strength of the economy. We continue to see a bit of a stronger lilangeni against the euro, and the dollar just weakening a bit against the Japanese yen. Thank you.
All right, that was our in-house economist, Sane Lesibia, just filling us in on some of the numbers or what to look out for when it comes to the markets this afternoon, as we start the week. Otherwise, it brings us to the end of the Monday edition of Market View. It's been lovely. Until the next edition, take care.